Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling a pretty provocative idea, that the very beliefs holding our world together, politics, the market, have basically become corrupted faiths.
This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of the source material. The idea is that our shared sense of reality isn't something we discover together anymore. Instead, it's become a territory that we fight over. The question has totally shifted from what is true to whose truth wins.
All right, so if truth is a battlefield, how is this war actually being fought? Well, the source argues we're living in what it calls a war of narratives. And in this kind of conflict, victory doesn't go to the person who's right, it goes to the person who can control perception.
So what does that look like in practice? It's basically a constant battle between different versions of reality. Just think about how political slogans or viral hashtags get thrown around like weapons. The goal isn't just to beat an opponent in an argument, it's to fundamentally rewrite reality itself.
The text breaks this down into three key tactics. First, if you can define the language, you control the entire battle. Second, you force people to accept ideas that contradict each other, which basically paralyzes their ability to think clearly. And third, you erase history, because if no one remembers what happened before, no one can question the story you're telling right now.
And this points to a really fundamental shift. Language used to be a bridge, right? It's how we connected with each other and talked about a reality we all shared. Now it's being used as a weapon to literally create a desired reality. But when words can mean anything, they eventually mean nothing, and having a real productive debate becomes, well, pretty much impossible. So this all leads to a huge question. Why is this war on truth happening now? According to the source, it's because as traditional faith has sort of faded into the background, it's left this big spiritual void. And, something always rushes in to fill a void. In this case, it's new, powerful forces that demand our total devotion.
And the text identifies two of these, two all-consuming belief systems that have really taken center stage. But here's the key. They don't just act like systems. They function like new competing religions. First up, there's the political system. The source calls it a theocratic democracy, which means it's been elevated to this kind of absolute moral authority. It's not just there to govern anymore. It actually manufactures its own truth and demands faith from its citizens. And if you disagree, that's not just dissent, that's heresy.
And then, on the other side, you've got the economic system. The argument here is that capitalism has become its own kind of church. It's a religious structure that offers salvation, but only if you participate in endless consumption. It's always promising that redemption is just one more purchase away.
Now this is what's so fascinating. The source draws these incredible parallels. You'd think the state and the market would be opposites, but the argument is they both function like theocracies. They both demand your total submission, they each have their own definitions of virtue and sin, and they both keep their followers on a kind of treadmill, constantly chasing something that's just out of reach.
Okay, so what happens when a society starts worshiping these new gods of ideology and the market? What's the consequence? The text argues it leads us straight into an age of profound confusion, and there's a very real human cost to all of it.
The source brings in the philosopher Hannah Arendt here to describe a really chilling outcome. See, when you bombard people with constant lies and shifting stories, they don't necessarily end up believing the lies. What happens is they stop believing anything at all. They lose their ability to think, to judge, and a people like that becomes completely malleable. You can do what you please with it.
And this forces us to ask a really critical question, one the source poses directly to us. In this world of constant noise and nonstop manipulation, are we, you and I, losing our very ability to engage in deep, independent thought? This phenomenon actually has a name in the text, the dissolution of contemplation. And the argument is that this is no accident. It's a deliberate function of control. Because think about it. A population that's never still, that never has a quiet moment for reflection, is a population that can't really mount any effective resistance. And this isn't some abstract theory, is it? This is the reality of our daily lives. Every single notification, every endless scroll through a feed, every moment we fill with noise, it's all part of this architecture of distraction that's designed to keep us from ever being truly alone with our own thoughts.
So all of this brings us to the source's pretty stark conclusion. This war on truth, combined with the dissolution of our ability to think, has pushed our civilization to a massive turning point, a real crossroads.
To frame this moment, the text references a historical theory known as the fourth turning. The idea is that societies move in cycles, and we are currently in the final, crisis phase. This is a dangerous but also decisive time, where the old order gets completely destroyed and something entirely new gets forged in its place. According to this source, this crisis presents us with two profoundly different potential futures. On one hand, we could be heading for a controlled dystopia, a techno-feudal future, where the masses are kept distracted and powerless. But on the other hand, there's the hope of a neo-humanist revival, where we consciously choose to rebuild society around core human values like reason, community, and the very contemplation that's under attack.
So ultimately, this whole thing isn't just an abstract analysis, it's a direct challenge. The source isn't predicting our future, it's presenting us with a choice. And it leaves us with this one provocative question that puts all the responsibility right back on our shoulders. Which path are we on? Which path are we choosing right now with our attention and with our actions?